Hi there, folks. It's Friday evening, and I'm updating some folks online on what's been going on. Of course, you heard about the big hurricane and how horrible it was, and unfortunately, it doesn't sound like the news is really getting any better. But in case you missed some of what was going on, not only was there a big hurricane, but there's a huge scandal brewing with the Federal Emergency Management, also known as FEMA, and they are in the news because it has been claimed, and this is straight from the New York Post here, that I'll read the headline right to you. It says the feds say there's no money left to respond to hurricanes after FEMA spent over $1 billion on migrants this year. So this is causing a huge uproar, and rightly so, because there have been, as you know, it's been a monumental disaster, and people need help, and they need to get it. But FEMA has run out of money, according to themselves. Now, I'll play you this video that was from Fox News, from the Homeland Security spokesman or leader there, Alejandro Mayorkas. And here's what the story says.
Alejandro Mayorkas sounding the alarm on FEMA funding right after the devastation of Hurricane Hell-Ene. Listen.
We are meeting the immediate needs with the money that we have. We are expecting another hurricane hitting. We do not have the funds. FEMA does not have the funds to make it through the season.
This all comes as the Biden-Harris administration spent over $1 billion from a FEMA program on services for migrants.
So, understandably so, this is causing a major uproar across the whole country right now because, the reason I said this has been a monumental disaster, one of the worst hurricanes that has ever affected the United States. You have to think back, to Katrina type of thing. Now, this is that same spokesperson, Mayorkas, earlier in the year about, he was saying, oh yeah, everything's so peachy. Let's see what he said early in the year.
Tremendously prepared. This is what we do. This is what they do. And the key here, Rebecca, is also to make sure that the communities who are potentially impacted are prepared as well.
So that's what Mayorkas said back earlier this year, which obviously contradicts what he said just recently after the storm hit. It's true, it was worse than some people expected, but all the forecasts said this was going to be a huge disaster in Florida and even up to the southeast. The predictions were for over a foot of rain up in that area that was worst hit by the flooding. And that's exactly what happened. So FEMA is shorthanded as far as helping people. There's been other stories, not confirmed yet, that people are, they're basically really said, tough tales, what it said, that they don't have the money to help them. So they are not getting the help that they need, at least not from the federal government. Now, I want to show you some other stuff on Twitter. Here's some other people that are also reporting on what's been going on. And this person is, I'll show you who it is, Ana Paulina Luna. And check out what she had to say about this.
Line is underwater, 1,000 people missing. While Pinellas County, we had 11 deaths, and we have a majority of our residents that aren't going to be able to come back to their homes because they're completely destroyed. You have Mayorkas, the Biden-Harris administration, and radical leftists in Washington, mostly in the Democrat Party, gave illegals $1.1 billion in housing assistance. People that never paid into the system. Mind you, they wouldn't have been here in the first place if they weren't campaigning on open borders, but that's a separate video. You should be pissed. And if you think as a legislator, I'm not pissed, and I don't see the games that happen in Washington hoping that you're not paying attention, because that's how it goes up there, is they hope the American people are too busy working to pay attention to the crap that they're doing. I'm telling you, you need to get out and vote, because this is not going to stop. It's just going to continue with the inflation, with the border security issues, and now we have Americans that are literally dying, not being able to get assistance, and the ministry says, it's okay, we'll give you $750. Meanwhile, they send our tax dollars overseas to fund countries that don't need it, and they give it to illegal immigrants.
So, she gave us a lot of information there, but it is very much in line with what we heard before. Now, this woman is a congresswoman, Ana Paulina Luna. So she's someone who would have some inside information on this. So as people are suffering, and after this horrible disaster, and I'll show you another video here pretty much explaining more of the same of what's going on, and no one can understand why FEMA was not prepared for this.
I've been reporting how FEMA has been taking over $1 billion of our dollars that's intended for disasters and shifting it towards the illegal invasion going on right now in our country. Now, FEMA's addressing my report on their website right now, calling it a rumor, actually. They're saying that this is false. No money is being diverted from the disaster response needs. Interesting. That's very interesting that FEMA's now denying this. And the reason why I say that is, take a listen. Okay, I never divulge who my sources are behind a story, but I'm gonna do it now because I don't want FEMA calling me a liar. So my source behind all my reporting is actually FEMA itself. If you go to the same website, you search these headlines, guess what? They're on their own website, okay? I pulled all of this information from their press releases. They've been bragging about giving our money away to the invaders for years now. Now all of a sudden that they need more money from Congress, they're calling it a rumor, they're calling it a lie, they'll probably call it a conspiracy theory. But if you go to their website, and in case they delete it, we've got the archives, so don't you worry. And they're bragging about taking your money and giving it to people who are invading our country. That now you, as Americans who need this money, guess what's happening to it? It's gone. We don't have any of it. And that's according to their own DHS Secretary, Alejandro Mayorkas, who's saying that they don't have enough money to get them through hurricane season. Also, that same website, they're denying the fact that they're broke. They're saying that that's also false. FEMA has enough money right now for immediate response and recovery needs, okay? So they're hoping that you're just as dumb as they are and that you're not going to fact check them on these things.
Well, as we know, okay, there are more than some Americans who are just like that, okay? By the way, this woman here, she's a host of a show called the Brianna Morella Show. You can find her on X there. And she has a media personality. So, and you saw, she basically caught FEMA red-handed, bragging about that fact. So this is a major scandal, and this is not something that's just simply going to go away. Okay, remember Hurricane Katrina in 2005, where you had thousands of people dying. Okay, if anything, okay, you could argue that this scandal is worse than Hurricane Katrina because for the reasons that you just heard. Now, we're also hearing positive stories about what's going on in the Carolinas and down south. We're seeing people that are taking on their own volition to go out and help the people down there. Dolly Parton's down there, and we have all kinds of journalists and regular Americans that are doing just that because apparently FEMA is not doing what they're supposed to be doing, and unfortunately a lot worse. This is from a Twitter user, Terrence Williams, okay? He's a big MAGA guy. He's just an ordinary guy, and look at what he tweeted earlier today. He said, FEMA can't be trusted. Well, I think we can all agree that's probably true. Please drop off supplies and food yourself. Give it directly to a nonprofit or a church. Don't give anything to FEMA. You can drop off supplies at this address, and he gives the address of where to do that. It's in, forgive me, I can't pronounce that, but it's Swana, North Carolina. In case you're wondering who this guy is, I will bring his profile up here. He's a comedian and founder of cousinsits.com. He's a big personality, and he's very much credible here. I'll show you what, in fact, he's doing down here right now.
Volunteers passed out today unloading trucks. We need volunteers. There's a semi sitting here that's got to be unloaded. 5 trucks is going to another location. Immediate need, we need medical supplies, insulin. If you have access to insulin or colostomy bags, we've got people that need that stuff. And then our immediate need is diesel fuel. You're in the North Carolina area, or you've got access to diesel fuel, we need diesel fuel. So we've got a lot of supplies coming in. There's a huge need. We're feeding 1,500 people a day. And so there's much to be done. So if you can donate towards that cause, or if you've got those resources.
Donate where?
So we'll put this in the box underneath the video. You can give at www.restoration, RESTORATION, Restoration Church, NC, North Carolina.org/give. And you put it under special offering. And we'll make sure it comes to this project. Now, if you give money, we're going to make sure that it goes to help the people right here. We're not getting involved with other government agencies. We're not putting it on a truck and sending it somewhere. It's staying right here to help these people in Swannanoa, Black Mountain, Moncrief, Burnsville. It's going to stay right here in this community, and we're going to make sure it goes out. So if you can give, that address is www.restorationchurchnc.org. And you can give that way. But now the diesel fuel, I got to have the diesel fuel in person because it's got to come from out of town because we can't buy that here. So if you want to give to diesel fuel, you're going to have to come and actually bring it. So
bring it here to
Swannanoa.
Swannanoa.
Interstate 40 in North Carolina, exit 59. And if you're coming from the east to the west, you're going to get off the interstate and go back to the left across the interstate. The church is a couple hundred yards on the right.
So you could see there, that's Cousin T's that he says there. So you can find them on X. And he announced where you can donate. So essentially, ordinary people are coming down to the Carolinas because people need help. The people that survived the storm in those towns that he mentioned, Black Rock was one of them. There are a bunch of towns, a lot of them northeast of Asheville. And what's happening is that those were the hardest hit areas by the storm. So that's what's going on here. So the federal government appears to be botching up another response to a big storm. People are stepping in, thankfully. And if you're in the area, they could use your help as well. And I'll show you some sites where you can donate as well for the recovery. Now, switching, making it more of a political angle to this. Donald Trump has been right on top of this, and he has been at his rallies. He's been going around the country, and I'll show you what he said here as one of his recent rallies. And here he is bashing FEMA, and rightly so. Here's Trump in his own words. Make sure the volume's nice and good here. Straight from the Trump War Room.
If you want to see how sick and distorted Kamala Harris's priorities are, just consider FEMA. F-E-M-A. You know what that is, right? The Federal Emergency Management Agency. And you read it about now all the time because there's nobody that's handled a hurricane or storm worse than what they're doing right now. Kamala spent all her FEMA money, billions of dollars, on housing for illegal migrants, many of whom should not be in our country, including $1 billion for gift cards for illegal aliens and putting them up in luxury hotels. With a gift card to welcome them to America as our veterans are sleeping on the sidewalks below those hotels and they're being walked into luxury hotels. Now we have a horrific disaster in North Carolina, Georgia, South Carolina, Alabama, Tennessee, Florida, and Virginia. That's how big this hurricane was. And the Harris-Biden administration says they don't have any money. They've spent it all on. They spent all of their money. They have almost no money because they spent it all on illegal migrants. How would you like to be a veteran and you've been sleeping opposite the entrance to a luxury hotel and illegal migrants come in and they're going up and occupying the hotel? That's what's happening. They stole the FEMA money just like they stole it from a bank so they could give it to their illegal immigrants that they want to have vote for them this season. They're trying to get them on the voters' roll. We cannot let that happen.
So there was Donald Trump in his own words, and you can Google some of that info and corroborate. We know that, the federal government and the state governments have been spending loads and loads of money on helping migrants here. But now the money is running out. So this is obviously a very major problem, and we're going to be hearing about this for some time to come, I'm sure. Here's some new news as far as the election is concerned as well, and I wanted to share a couple of things here. Certainly, the political angle of this doesn't seem like it's going to help the Harris-Walz campaign, as they are. It doesn't seem like they're stepping up, and of course, the things that they have been doing and saying are not in line with what we would need for a huge disaster like this. So this is a website, Pro-Trump News. I know it's a right-leaning, site here, but all these links here are all, check them out. They're pretty objective and real news reporting. So I brought up a couple of them over here. And here's a story as far as the presidential race. We heard about the Teamsters Union, the big labor union based, I believe, in the Midwest. They've refused to endorse a candidate for president. And this is a story about the Firefighters Union, big Democrat machine here. They declined to endorse Trump or Harris in the presidential race. And these big unions are very much entwined with the Democratic Party. Okay, they are one of the biggest sources of the votes for Democrats every election season. Okay, and virtually every election going back who knows how long, they have endorsed and heavily campaigned for Democrats. They've basically put the Democrats over the top in many elections, especially I remember in 2000. They helped, well, in 2000, it was the tie election, but Al Gore came extremely close to winning that year, and because of the support that he had in the Midwest. But in 2016, the voters in the Midwest put Trump over the top in 2016. So he would not have been elected if it not had been for those working class voters, many of them union voters. I don't know how the union bosses, if they endorsed Trump or not. But in any case, the voters had their say, and they said, we do not want the Democrats. So the same thing sounds like it's happening this year. So the Firefighters Union declines to endorse them for president, either of them. I get, this is politics, so they don't want to come out and necessarily endorse Trump right away. But the fact that they're not endorsing the Democrats is a big story. The Firefighters Union, representing more than 300,000 firefighters and emergency responders across the country, they announced this earlier this week. And the IAFF General President Edward Kelly said in a statement posted to X that the union decided by a margin of 1.2% not to endorse anyone for president. In their own words, over the past year, they took unprecedented steps to hear our members' views on the candidates, their union members, and the policy issues that matter to them most. As we have over our 106-year history, he says, the IAFF will continue to work to improve the lives of firefighters and their families. The IAFF Executive Board determined that we are better able to advocate for our members and make progress on the issues that matter to them if they, as a union, are standing shoulder to shoulder. So, in plain English, that means that they're not happy with the Harris campaign, and they're looking at other alternatives. And really, the only alternative in the race is Donald Trump. Here's another story also from the Pro-Trump News website. The Harris campaign panics after a brutal poll with a key demographic. So it looks like, the polls we're probably going to see a shift in the coming weeks more towards Trump. It's been locked in, tied, if you believe the polls, for the last month or so. This article says Vice President Harris's campaign is facing a fresh wave of anxiety after a new poll revealed a critical shift among Arab American voters in the 2024 election. The poll released by the Arab Institute, AAI, shows Harris and Trump in a virtual dead heat, 42-41%. The findings points out that the growing concerns with the Harris campaign, particularly over Biden's handling of the Gaza crisis, which appears to be a decisive factor for Arab Americans. So it's just really more bad news for the Harris campaign. And up in Michigan, there are a lot of Arab American voters in that area, and they tend to lean more towards the left generally, but now you've got it 50-50. So if anything, at this point, the political angle of this tells us that things are not looking as good for the Democrat side, and we're going to see what happens in the coming weeks. I also wanted to share, we talked about Hell-Ene, the hurricanes. Well, there's more hurricanes out there. There's a big hurricane out here called Kirk, and this storm, while it's not going to hit the U.S., they're expecting to cause waves on the East Coast, and it may eventually hit northwestern Europe. Another storm, Leslie, is also expected to be a hurricane. Now, that's not expected to affect anybody, however. Another hurricane, though, may form in the Gulf. This is from the National Hurricane Center website here, and they're now saying, as of the last update that just came out, they're expecting a 70% chance of another tropical cyclone or a subtropical cyclone forming in the Gulf. The last thing that people in Florida want to hear, or anywhere in the southeast, but I'll get a little more detail about that in a second. And here's these hurricanes are just going gangbusters here. That's Hurricane Kirk near Category 5. Soon to be Hurricane Leslie here. And we may have Hurricane Milton before too long. Now check this out. This is from my Facebook page because I'm a certified meteorologist. So I post updates here. You can find me on there and add me, especially if you're down in the southeast. I posted this just earlier today that a new hurricane is likely to form in the Gulf of Mexico next week and track toward Florida. So the residents there, if you're there, should start to make some preparations and keep abreast to the forecast. This is an image from a weather computer model, the ones that predict the storms, showing that disturbance I mentioned practically over Florida by Wednesday. And that would be a hurricane. So it's too early to say. This could be wrong, and way too early to say exactly where it's going to hit. We sincerely hope and pray that the same people who were so badly hit by Hell-Ene do not have to deal with another strong hurricane moving overhead. But I think it is going to affect somewhere on the western and especially the southern half of the Florida Peninsula by next week. So we're watching that. Storm chaser Reed Timmer, I'm sure you know about him. He mentioned the fact that the Euro model ensemble, this is basically one of the hurricane models here and a kind of a cluster of models, now showing more of a better chance of a late season tropical cyclone, really a hurricane most likely, moving west to east across the Gulf toward Florida. So it's not good news, but we're watching that carefully and that can change. The Weather Channel also on their website, weather.com, mentions this. More rain expected for Florida, Gulf Coast, tropical development possible, and in fact, indeed likely at this point. So it looks like there could be some very heavy rain across Florida with the next storm by not really till next week, however. And again, it could become a hurricane. So keep that in mind, and keep our friends and everybody in the southeast in mind that are still recovering and will for some time to come. And also, you can Google. I just put up this here, places where you can donate. There's a plethora of places you could go. You see it here to donate money, to donate supplies, food, medicine, the things that they need the most down in Florida and all across the southeast. This is from the Today Show. They have a really good article here on how you can help the families down in that area. And they say they mention they need diapers, they need formula. You can help children who survive the hurricane obtain formula, diapers, and clothing through the national nonprofit Baby to Baby. It says Baby to Baby is currently focused on responding specifically to needs of babies and children who have been impacted by Hurricane Hell-Ene. And there's a whole bunch of other ones. You can just go on their website and find the address there and see what they're talking about here. World Central Kitchen, which provides food to people in crisis, is serving mostly hot meals to victims of the storm in North Carolina, Tennessee, Florida, and Georgia. So they have all this good information there, helping schools and helping the elderly and vulnerable populations down there. And you can contribute to food banks. Feeding America is one of those as well. So I will leave you with this. Also, I mentioned Dolly Parton. She is hosting a hurricane relief event. I think this was earlier today, or if it's ongoing, but it was in Newport, Tennessee. And here's what she had to say.
Anyway, I'm happy to be here, and I'm sure a lot of you wondering where I've been. Everybody saying, "Where's Dolly?" Well, I've been like everybody else, trying to absorb everything going on, trying to figure out all the best ways to do this, because then we had that crazy old Hell-Ene. You came in here and broke us all apart. Hell-Ene. But we're all here to mend these broken hearts, and that's all I'm doing here. So I really wish that we were all together for another reason, but we all have seen the devastation. I mean, who knew in our little part of the country here, where I was born and raised, just right down the road, that we would have this kind of devastation. And I look around and I think, these are my mountains. These are my valleys. These are my rivers flowing like a stream. These are my people. These mountain-colored rainbows. These are my people, and this is my home. And I just want all of you to know that, like Eugene was saying, you remember when we had the fires, everybody pitched in, tried to do everything that they could. And so I really think that this is a time for me to step up again, for all of us to step up and do what we can. And of course, today I wanted to announce that from myself personally, just from my own bank account, I'm donating $1 million today. But there's a lot to be done, and we're trying to find other ways to even raise more funds, but also with my Dollywood companies and all the people I'm involved with Dollywood and Eugene and all the partners that we have with our Stampede, and of course the Pirates Voyage, and of course the Dollywood Foundation, and we've added another $1 million to that 1 million. So we're starting out with a good little hunk.
So you can watch that online as well. So that's our thoughts and prayers, everything with the folks down there. And we're going to have more updates through the weekend and next week what's happening. So peace out, everybody. Have a great weekend. Stay safe and be good.